ever been there? It's a big Mexican restaurant, but they have like cliff jumpers and Black Bart's Cave and all kinds of stuff.
This is Casa Bonita, a place in Lakewood, Colorado that's the last of its kind, and hailed as the Disneyland of Mexican restaurants. And it's not hard to see why. They have everything you would ever want from a top-tier restaurant experience. They got mariachis. They got cliff divers. They even have a magician. The vibe is basically Rainforest Cafe on steroids. And after shutting down for a little bit in 2020, Casa Bonita is back under new management. But something feels different. Maybe it's the gigantic Cartman statue or Man-Bear Pig greeting the guest. Wait, why are Cartman and Man-Bear Pig here? Well, funny little story, the South Park creators bought the place. And if that seems a little random, I promise you it's not. In fact, this feels like destiny, dude! South Park has featured Casa Bonita in numerous episodes and even in one of their games, including the time it was destroyed by Mecha Barbra Streisand.
Casa Bonita's gone! Jesus, help us!
So what's the history between South Park and Casa Bonita? And how did we end up with Cartman's goofy goober ass cheesing at the customers while they eat? Well, get ready for some useless trivia and a trip down memory lane as I unpack how South Park took over Casa Bonita. Speaking of Mecha Barbra Streisand, I love giant robots. And now I can play as a giant robot all the time, thanks to Mech Arena. Mech Arena is a super fun free-to-play online shooter that you can play on mobile or desktop. I love all the different kind of mechs they have in this game. They all have their own charm to them, and they're addicting to unlock. One of the most popular play styles is Sniper. It's a great way to do well in matches for quicker progress. It's also really satisfying. Sniping's good for the entire game, so aim for some upgrades. You don't need much to get started as a sniper. Any mech of high energy capacity will do, including Paragon, the first mech you get. Pair that with a long arm, and you're good to go. In honor of Plarium's anniversary, Mech Arena's epic space-themed event, Solar Survivor, has kicked off. They've already revealed 3 new 5v5 maps, the legendary Scorpius mech with its onboard javelin array, as well as new chain gun and fragment gun weapons. It's 100% free to play on Android, iOS, and PC right now, and you can use my personal link or scan my QR code to get $30 worth of bonuses. We're talking about 1 Missile Rack 6, 1 Prodigy crate, and 1 skin to help kickstart your game. And if you're quick, you can add me to your friends list, so don't wait around. It all started in 2003 with the season 7 episode appropriately titled Casa Bonita. Well, really, it started whenever Matt and Trey went to Casa Bonita for the first time and became obsessed with it. But for us, it all started here. Now, admittedly, this episode isn't like a Hall of Famer or anything. Honestly, it's just your run-of-the-mill Cartman episode for the time. But the way it ended up changing the trajectory of Matt and Trey's lives cannot be understated. It kicks off with Kyle eagerly informing the gang that his mom is taking him and 3 friends to Casa Bonita for his birthday. And wouldn't you know it, Cartman is a Casa Bonita super fan. Knowing the ins and outs of the place, he's ready to get wild, wanting nothing more than a trip to this paradise. But Kyle immediately grounds him to the sobering reality that they aren't friends, due to the fact that Cartman treats him like shit, and thus the third slot is going to Butters instead. The idea of missing out on a trip to Casa Bonita haunts Cartman. Like, bro is literally having dreams of going there. It's kinda sad, even if I can relate. Shout out to Waffle House. Cartman wants to prove himself as a nice person worthy of going to Casa Bonita with Kyle. But like 2 seconds into this quest he gives up, he wails on Jimmy, and resorts to gaslighting Kyle and Butters in classic Cartman fashion. He gives Kyle the impression that even though he wants to go, he understands where Kyle is coming from, and doesn't want the situation to affect the squad's dynamic. Of course, Kyle eats this up, appreciates the sentiment, and lets Cartman know that if Butters can't make it, he can take his place. Which is exactly what that bastard wanted. This is where the shenanigans begin. Cartman convinces Butters that a meteor is going to collide with Earth in a matter of hours. And pretending to have Butters' best interest in mind, Cartman helps the lad go into hiding by placing him in a bomb shelter. Good plan in a shitty, evil, fucked up way, right? Wrong. Because Cartman locked up Butters a whole night before the Casa Bonita trip, Butters' parents arrive at Kyle's house moments before they head out. The Stotches are a mess, as they have no idea where Butters could be. And now that everyone is on edge, no one's really in a mood for Casa Bonita. Except for Cartman. Casa Bonita gets postponed for a week while the search for Butters begins, which Cartman thinks will be smooth sailing until...
I say we need to move the search to ducks, wells, and bomb shelters.
But how can Cartman keep Butters hidden for another week if they're checking bomb shelters? Well, when there's a will, there's a way. Running with a post-apocalypse narrative, Cartman moves Butters from the bomb shelter to the inside of a fridge in a garbage dump. Yeah, that's a great idea, Cartman.
Finally, I can breathe. Oh my god.
The next Saturday rolls around, and just as the gang heads to Casa Bonita, Butters gets discovered in the dump, and the truth quickly comes to light.
Oh. Ma'am, can I use your phone?
As soon as they pull up to the function, Kyle's mom gets a call explaining the situation. She informs Cartman the cops are on the way. So this kid just makes a break for it. And wow, even in cartoon form, this place looks nice. I wanna go, what the fuck? Cartman tries to speedrun the Casa Bonita experience while getting chased down by the authorities. And right as it looks like they have him cornered, he goes for the dive. Yeah, that doesn't save him, but hey, he thinks it was all worth it, so despite the week in juvie, Cartman kinda won in the end, I guess? What a disturbed little man.
You are a sad, strange little man.
Again, the episode isn't anything to write home about, although it is one of Trey Parker's favorites according to commentary.
This is definitely among my top 10 favorite episodes of all time.
And it did expose a new generation to Casa Bonita, and set everything in motion for South Park's eventual takeover of the restaurant. To quote Mark Tornga from the AV Club, South Park delivered the best possible commercial for this restaurant adventurescape with the surprisingly accurate and compelling 2003 Casa Bonita episode of the show. Of the 100 or so Google and Yelp reviews I've read about Casa Bonita, a solid half of them mention Cartman or South Park as their motivation for dining. Like the other out-of-towners who chimed in, I too was shocked to find out that Casa Bonita does indeed exist, and almost exactly as it was depicted in South Park. Not only was the Colorado branch anticipating the episode thanks to Matt and Trey actually going up there and getting permission from them directly, but the table Cartman briefly sat at was declared the Cartman table by the restaurant itself. Keep that in mind. Side note, a lot of people claim that Casa Bonita's food was absolute ass back in the day, and I realized that South Park doesn't touch on its menu once. I wonder if Matt and Trey also thought the food was mid, but just decided to spare the restaurant of any slander in the episode. The events of Casa Bonita would be referenced in the episode Awesome-O, as Butters still held resentment against Cartman for trapping him in a bomb shelter and fridge for a week, rightfully so, Butters. And the restaurant was referenced once more in the episode You Have Zero Friends.
That's right, Clyde has a birthday coming up and his mom is taking everyone to Casa Bonita.
The band episode 201 decided to get bold and have tragedy strike Colorado. Not because Pip's dumbass returned just to get flattened like a pancake by Mecha Barbra Streisand, but because the bitch destroyed Casa Bonita.
The Casa Bonita is gone! Jesus, help us!
Sure, they claim the episode got banned because of Mohammed, but I know the truth. America couldn't handle watching the destruction of a national treasure, even in animated form. Like this was someone's 9/11. Now, the Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole are heavily implied to be canon, and the latter game has DLC set entirely in Casa Bonita, even though it was still closed in the series. Sadly, I haven't gotten around to this DLC yet, but just looking at gameplay online, I am in absolute awe at how they were able to perfectly translate this restaurant into a fully explorable map. You fight Michael Jackson here for some reason. That's pretty cool. This DLC just shows how much love Matt and Trey have for Casa Bonita, how near and dear this restaurant is to their hearts. I mean, do you see any other game having its developers flesh out a gimmicky Mexican restaurant? I don't. Jumping back to the show, Casa Bonita officially reopened 10 years later in the vaccination special, as Cartman gets an invite there by Clyde. And I'm sure this was Matt and Trey winking at the audience, as Casa Bonita unfortunately shut down in March 2020 as a result of the pandemic, and the owner filed for bankruptcy the following year in April 2021. But 5 months after the vaccination special, Matt and Trey closed a deal to buy the restaurant. Dang, the things you can do with fuck you money. Yeah, the biggest Casa Bonita fans on the planet buying the restaurant is kind of a no-brainer, and I'm sure it was a huge full circle moment for them.
Ever since we started the building, we have named our office Casa Bonita. It's like fate.
It's like Thanos catching all the stones. You can tell Matt and Trey were hyped to own a restaurant, given that season 26, which just aired earlier this year, featured the episode Dick and Boss Hot Dogs, which saw Cartman and Kenny start up their own restaurant right out of Cartman's hot dog-shaped home. It was clearly a meta-commentary on Matt and Trey's own business endeavors, and even though they didn't acknowledge Casa Bonita in the episode, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a proper follow-up to the original episode sooner rather than later, now that it'll be in the front of Matt and Trey's minds for a while. So, after significant renovations, hiring over 500 people, and partnering with award-nominated chef Dina Rodriguez, so the food's no longer trash, Casa Bonita finally reopened in June 2023. And as we alluded to in the intro, South Park has made its mark on the restaurant in a way that really can't be ignored. It's an absolute takeover, kinda. The Cartman table is now accompanied by a full-blown Cartman statue, immortalizing the menace in a perfect final resting place. Just look at that shit-eating grin. He's so happy to be here. I guess there also used to be a guy in a gorilla suit, SpongeBob style, that's been replaced by Man Bear Pig, which is cute. I don't know about y'all, but I love being greeted by the embodiment of climate change. As it stands, we're relying on people posting their little Casa Bonita TikToks to get a good look at their renovated restaurant and all the South Park additions made to the place. So I'm not sure if they added more than just these two, but honestly, we don't need a bajillion South Park decorations around the restaurant. Too much of that, and you start to lose what makes Casa Bonita special. Though I won't lie, I hope there's at least something like a South Park themed cocktail on the menu. You gotta have something South Park on the menu now. If there's anything to learn from all of this, it's definitely that life is truly unpredictable, and that you should never give up on your passions. Try to incorporate your passions into your work. Matt and Trey did, and look where that got them. Which is why I'm announcing my goal, no, my dream, to one day own the entire Taco Bell empire. With my newfound position, I will bring back the grilled stuffed nacho to every single location. I will make sure nacho fries and the blue raspberry freeze will never leave the menu. And I will restore the dessert menu to its former glory. All I gotta do is just make a hit cartoon that runs for 25 years. How hard can that be in the age of streaming, right? And that's about it, everybody. If you wanna learn more about Casa Bonita as a restaurant, I'm gonna be cooking up another video over on my personal channel, Kevin's Rabbit Hole. So go subscribe and be on the lookout for that over the next few days. I'm trying to build that channel out more, and I just posted a banger on the Grimace Shake, so if you haven't checked that out yet, you should. And if you've ever been to Casa Bonita, let me know what that experience was like in the comments down below. I'm pretty curious. Alright, that's about it. Peace.